Greetings, and today we'll have a Discord story about a strange profound legend from history. Now I have this good story. It's not that spooky, but it is still scary because of how strange and coincidental the premise is. Alright, anybody please don't disturb me for the meantime while I'm making up this whole story, as I'll be giving out some big segments of historical data. It's about a warlord from the medieval era in the 14th century known as Timur the Lame, 1339 to 1405. I have briefly mentioned him in the History channel already. If some of you don't know who is Timur yet, unless if you're from Central Asia, he is a malevolent conqueror who sought to bring back the glorious aptitude of the great Mongol Empire under a formal new Islamic auspice. Considering that he's ethnically Mongolian and is born as a Muslim, he said that Allah would help him, which was believable since he almost never fails at anything. His bloody campaigns of expanding his power through domination by wars and conquer led to the unprecedented slaughter of 17 million people, which was 15% of the world population at that time. He was enunciated by historians as one of the most ruthless and vile leaders in history because of his reckless brutality, such as building a tall tower made of the heads cut off from his captives and constructing walls with dead human bodies as his materials. Many people hated and feared Timur so much that even other Muslims, notably Arabs, have shown great disdain for him. Ibn Khaldun, probably the greatest historiographer in history, got into some bit of conflict with Timur himself as well. His reign of terror came to an end when he tried invading China and got killed with his army by the cold winter. Sounds similar to how the Nazis and French tried invading Russia, right? Him and the rest of his sons and grandsons were buried in tomb at Gur-e-Amir in Samarkand city on Uzbekistan. Many popular architectural sepulchres widely known to the world, such as the Taj Mahal and Humayun's tomb, are built upon the model of Gur-e-Amir, as Timur's empire always has been greatly interested in the beauty of art and has helped in shaping and influencing the world's artistic landscape. This is what Gur-e-Amir looks like. A map of Timur's empire. The empire then collapsed in 1507 when Indians, Kebabs, Russians, Chinese, and Arabs have destroyed it, leading to a mass dissolving and scattering of countries. Fast forward to the 20th century, like the middle of World War II, since the Soviet Union was very big in terms of territory as they have occupied Uzbekistan, in early June of 1941, considering that Joseph Stalin had fair interests, he has ordered the expedition for excavation and exhuming of the tombs in Gur-e-Amir. These tasks were given to Tash Muhammad Kariniyazov, the expedition's leader, writer and historian Sadruddin Aini, the famous Orientalist A. Semyonov, and M. Gerasimov. A young cinematographer named Malik Kayamov was also in the group. Their aim was to examine the human remains in the tombs and study more of Timur's family. Many of the local residents, especially the Muslim clergy, tried stopping this expedition by the Soviets, but they unfortunately failed to do so. The excavations began at June 16. They firstly opened the tombs of the sons of Ulugbek, a prominent, well-respected astronomer, mathematician, sultanate, and grandson of Timur. Then they opened the tomb of Timur's sons, Miran Shah and Shahrukh. On June 18 they discovered the remains of Ulugbek himself. On June 19 the heavy gravestone was taken off from Timur's tomb. Now finally on June 20 the tomb of the great Timur was opened. Quickly the whole mausoleum was filled with aromatic odor of mixtures of resin, camphor, rose, and frankincense. The morticians had to embalm him for better preservation. Upon opening Timur's tomb they found two inscriptions. The first inscription is written on the tombstone and says, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble," while the second inscription is located inside the tombstone, and says, "Whosoever disturbs my tomb will unleash an invader more terrible than I," meaning a dangerous curse would be brought upon. Photographs of the tomb of Timur inside Gur-e-Amir. Two days later, after Timur's tomb was opened, the German Nazis had simultaneously instigated Operation Barbarossa, which was the invasion of the Soviet Union, leading to the deaths of almost 30 million people. This unexpected event was already feared and known by other folks, including the bodacious Islamic clergymen, as before Stalin's expedition for Gur-e-Amir was even enacted. News passed from mouth to mouth, the Russian expedition is going to open the tomb of Tamerlane the Great. It will bring the curse on our heads. This must be why the fellow cohabitants tried intervening to stop the exhuming of Timur's tomb, since they knew what was coming. They also said about how the curse takes 3 days for effect to happen. Although right before the Nazi raid on Russia occurred, Timur and the rest of his dynasty were sent to Moscow to be studied. Panic was stricken intensely amongst the people of Samarkand city. Then after a few months Joseph Stalin was paranoid, now noticing about the coincidental impact. He has finally believed in the effect of the curse. So Stalin immediately ordered that Timur's remains were to be returned to his tombstone with full adorning Islamic burial rites, and later in December 1941 the Nazis had withdrawn from the Soviet Union, giving a Russian victory against the German invaders in their homeland. Some speculating rumors shows that Timur's remains were brought to the front lines, sparking the triumphant win of the Battle of Stalingrad, but this was just a legend because the Soviet soldiers were already dedicated to beating the Nazi intruders, although the curse was probably real and caused a catastrophic chain of events. This is greatly known alright, especially to Uzbekistan. I mean, your ordinary Uzbek has good knowledge about Timur. You could also ask the Islamic clerics in that country about the Great Curse because they know a lot of lore concerning that specific conundrum. The story of Timur is also pretty popular to Russia and maybe India as well. A Soviet documentary about the curse of Timur the Lame. It includes footages and history of the opening of his tomb. It's old, to be honest, like maybe 1980s I think. The story of Timur's curse has been commonly significant with the Soviet Union after World War II. Some of the former Soviet states to this day are quite familiar about this enigma.